Hello and welcome to Essential Swahili for Tourists and Missionaries, prepared and presented by me, Mwalimu Joey, also known as Teacher Joey. This video will be useful to anyone who is traveling to a Swahili-speaking location, knows Swahili-speaking people, or simply just wants to learn to speak Swahili. So let's get into it. But before we do, I have a disclaimer. Swahili is a widespread and diverse language, so it may differ where you travel. I'm not a native speaker, nor formally educated, so I may commit spelling and or pronunciation mistakes. It's not likely, but it's possible. Please think critically about what I share with you and stay open-minded when encountering real-life Swahili speakers. Lastly, I'm going to teach many words and phrases. You definitely do not need to memorize them all. I recommend taking notes on the things that you believe will be the most useful for you and making flashcards or something to memorize those. If you want to learn everything here, great. If not, that's great too. Also, I'm going to teach you strategies on how to make simple conversation and anticipate questions to fake a higher level of Swahili than you are actually at. This will allow you to impress locals and connect with them faster. Thank you for viewing, and as they say in Kenya, sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. Now, where is Swahili spoken? You can see here highlighted in purple. With its origin in East Africa, Swahili speakers spread over more than 14 countries: Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. South Sudan, Somalia, Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, Comoros, and as far as Oman and Yemen in the Middle East. According to this article, there is more than 200 million speakers of Swahili worldwide. I have looked online and found different estimates, and the more accurate number is probably closer to 150 million. And hopefully that number will be going up after this video. But it's worth noting that Swahili is the largest spoken native African language on the continent. Given that English, French, Arabic, those languages are not native to Africa, Swahili is the most widespread native language from Africa. And here's a map representing the spread of Swahili. Swahili is a Bantu language. Bantu is a family of languages originating in Western Central Africa, more or less near modern-day Nigeria. This Bantu language traveled all the way to the East Coast and developed on islands like Zanzibar and the entire East Coast of Africa. It was spread inland by Arab traders, which is why more than 40% of Swahili vocabulary comes from Arabic. So there are many words in common, but not the grammar. With time and influence of European colonizers, Swahili became a common language or lingua franca of East African people. Today, Swahili is useful in Kenya and Tanzania. For me, I learned to speak Swahili in southwestern Kenya in a county called Migori, and it was useful for me in my entire trip around the southern part of the country. Okay, one last thing before I get to teaching you Swahili. This is a general guide for pronouncing Swahili words. If you have ever learned Spanish, you may know that the vowels are pronounced A, E, I, O, U. Swahili actually pronounces vowels the exact same way. Let me say that again. A, I, O, U. So every time you're reading a word and come across a vowel, pronounce it exactly this way. A, I, O, U. And it will likely sound more correct. On the other hand, Swahili consonants are pronounced similar to English, with the exception of the letters Q and X, which don't exist in Swahili. Swahili also has similar digraphs like we have in English. Ch like chocolate and sh like shampoo. This translates over to the pronunciation of English words too. We have the word chef in English from French, and they say chef. I always thought that sounded nice. Okay, now if you look at the blends below, you'll see that this is something very different that we don't have in English. Mwa, mba, nga, nda. With these, you just sound out each individual letter and blend them together. But seriously, the best way to learn how to pronounce a word is to copy a correct speaker and practice. Okay, are you ready? Let's learn some Swahili. First and foremost, you need to learn the polite words. How do you say thank you? Asante. Asante. You're welcome. Karibu. Karibu. Or this is also the word for welcome, just like in English. You're welcome and welcome. Karibu. Now, sana means very or a lot. So if you say asante sana, what do you think that means? Thanks a lot. Karibu sana. You are very welcome, right? And of course, to say please, you say tafadali. Tafadali. Please. Tafadali. And now these are our greetings. These are the formal greetings. We're going to get to the less formal greetings in a minute. But the most common word you're going to hear is jambo. Jambo. It means hello. Habari. Habari is another way to say hello, and it's more formal than jambo. If you say habari yako, that means how are you? And the correct simple response to say fine is inzuri. Habari yako, inzuri. Habari yako, inzuri. Now we have this greeting here, shikamu. This is beyond formal. It's really only ever said when a young person greets an elder. The literal translation, it means touching your leg. And there's only one correct response to this, marahaba. Now, me personally, I spent almost 2 months in Kenya, and I only heard this one time in the classroom. And so don't expect to hear it. It's very uncommon to hear, but it is out there, and I thought you should know. Now, on the last slide, I taught you how to say habari yako. It's a common, simple way to say how are you. But there are many ways to ask how are you, and they usually start with habari. Okay, habari literally translates to any news. And so this ya, it means about or of. Any news about. And then whatever word they say after that, habari ya blank. No matter what, they're just asking how are you. So these are some simple responses that you can be ready to say. Inzuri, it means fine. Injema is another one, it means good. And salama means safe or at peace. And if you add sana or kabisa to the end, you're just, making it stronger. Inzuri sana, very fine. Injema sana, very good. Salama kabisa, exactly safe. And so the point is, you don't have to know what the ending is. You know that they're asking how are you, and you can just respond with a nice response. I'm good. But what if you do want to know what the ending is, and you want to be able to say these phrases yourself? Well, here you go. Okay, as we said before, habari yako. This works any time of the day. It just means how are you. But if we're greeting somebody during the morning time, we can use the word for morning, asubuhi, and say habari ya asubuhi. It's basically saying, how are you this morning, right? Any news about the morning? And you can just say, good. Nzuri sana, njema kabisa, salama kabisa, as you see below. If it's the daytime or just any time during the day, really, you can say today, habari ya leo. Leo means today. Mchana, afternoon. Habari za mchana. And the ya changes to za. It's a grammar thing, but it's the same meaning. Habari za mchana. How are you this afternoon? And for the evening, habari za jioni. Habari za jioni. And the example response is nzuri sana, very fine. Njema kabisa, exactly good. Salama kabisa, exactly safe. Now, if you don't want to memorize all of these, which is totally fine, and you have somebody asking you, how are you? And you know that that's what they said, you can respond, nzuri sana, or whatever you like, and then you can simply say back to them, na wewe, and you. And this is very natural. This is how you speak in your native language. You just say, and you. Na wewe. Na is and. Wewe is you. Na wewe. So you don't have to learn all these phrases. You can hear someone ask you. You can give your response. And then you can simply say, na wewe, and you. And wait for their response. Okay. Everything I just taught you, go ahead and throw out the window. Because now I'm going to teach you the cool ways to greet someone. There are 2 ways to say what's up in Swahili, mambo and sasa. Mambo, poa, sasa, poa. Poa is the simple response, but there are cooler responses. Now, we know the word sana, poa sana. Poa means good. It's another way to say good. And so if we say poa sana, it means very good, right? You can say freshi, meaning fresh. This is a good one. Freshi sana, freshi poa, right? Now, this is the best one of all you could say. Barida, freshi barida. It means cool. Because the word baridi means cold, if you say barida, it means cool. So I want you to imagine that one day, someone on the street says to you, mambo, and you reply, freshi barida, na wewe? You will blow their mind. This is a really easy way to get people to open up and show that you have an interest in their language and their culture, and they'll take an interest in you, and they'll help you learn. Now, I just want to say one more time that sasa is another really good, easy way to say what's up. Mambo and sasa, they are the same. Okay, you have met someone. You've said, how are you? Habari yako, or mambo, sasa. And they said, nzuri, poa, whatever it was. Now you want to introduce yourself, and you want to find out the other person's name. You would say, naitwa. For me, my name is Joey, right? Naitwa Joey. That means I am called Joey. Another phrase you can say that's the same, jina langu ni. My name is, right? I am called versus my name is, whichever one you would like to learn. Jina langu ni Joey. Now, if I want to ask someone's name, I can say, unaitwa nani. Nani means who, but in this context, it would be translated as like saying what in English, right? So, unaitwa nani. What are you called? Or, jina lako ni nani. What is your name? Now, it's time for your second pro tip, and it's the same phrase that we learned for our first pro tip. If somebody asks you a question and they have it, see, both of these questions end with the word nani. So if someone says to you, blah, 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 nani, you know that they've asked you for your name. So you can say your name, blah, 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 nani, Joey. Na wewe? I don't have to have any of this memorized. I've just simply understood their question, answered it, and asked it back to them in the easiest way possible. So this phrase, na wewe, is very useful, as you can see. That's pro tip number 2. Okay, now you've had a nice conversation with somebody. Hopefully you've said more than just each other's names, and it's time to say goodbye. Here are the 4 most common ways you'd want to say goodbye in Swahili. The first one, kwaheri, it's just goodbye. Kwaheri. Kwaheri. Now, if you want to say see you tomorrow, tuonane kesho. Tuonane means we see, and kesho means tomorrow. Tuonane kesho. See you tomorrow. If it's nighttime, you can say usiku mwema. Usiku means night. Mwema is good. Usiku mwema. Good night. If someone is going to sleep, we learn this word salama. It means safe or peace, right? Lala means sleep. So sleep peacefully. Lala salama. Sleep well. So let's go over how to say these again. Kwaheri. Tuonane kesho. Usiku mwema. And lala salama. If that was all good enough for you already, then great. Just knowing simple things that I've taught already, like how to say your name, and hello, and goodbye, and how are you, that is perfect. That'll get you so far. But if you want to learn this nice phrase, you can as well. Nice to meet you. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. You can see the words translated below. I'm going to say that one more time, nice and slow. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Nice to meet you. Do you speak Kiswahili? Unaongea Kiswahili? Unaongea Kiswahili? If you do a good enough job speaking some of the phrases we've discussed already, you might get this question. Do you speak Swahili? Unaongea Kiswahili? And you can give a few answers to this. You can be a little cocky and say Indio. Yes, Indio. Or you can do what most beginning language learners say and say little bit. Kidogo. Little bit. Kidogo. So the phrase to say I speak is naongea. Naongea. To say you speak is unaongea. So it's very simple distinction. So these are some of the languages that I have said. Naongea Kiingereza, English. Naongea Kihispania, Spanish. Naongea Kiitaliano, Italian, right? Pretty easy. If you have another language that you speak and you don't know how to say it, it's not taught in this video, you can go ahead and search that on the internet or just ask any Swahili speaker how to say the name of your language in Swahili. Now, for me, English is my best language, so I can ask somebody, Unaongea Kiingereza? Do you speak English? Or you can use this phrase that we've discussed before, nawewe, and I can say something like, Naongea Kiingereza, nawewe, or you can say whatever language you're hoping for. If you speak French, it's possible someone might speak some French, and you can say that. Also, fun fact, a lot of people you encounter will speak a tribal language or mother tongue. It's going to be their first language. It's going to be, some of them are going to say it's their best language. And it's very interesting. You can learn a lot about people by learning about what tribal language they speak, if they speak one. So make sure you ask people that. Do you have a mother tongue, or do you speak a third language? Because you'd be surprised to find most people do. And it tells a lot about them, their background. Okay, now if you're talking to somebody, they might want to know where you're from if you didn't already tell them. And they're going to ask you, Una toka wapi? Where are you from? And you can simply say, Natoka, and then the country that you are from, right? For me, United States, so I'd say, Natoka Americani. For example, if you're from France, Natoka Ufaransa. United Kingdom, Natoka Uingereza. Canada, Mexico, pronounced the same as in English. And by the way, it's time for your next pro tip, because if this word wapi comes up, you'll notice it goes at the end of the question. If you hear a question, or they say something to you, and the last word is wapi, they're probably asking where you're from. So say the name of your country. Even if you say it in English, they'll be impressed that you understood them. If they already know where you're from, maybe they're asking where you've been in the country or where you're staying. But based on context, you can take a pretty good guess. This word wapi means where. So they're asking a where question. Now, you're probably going to East Africa, if this is the case for you, with a reason, right? Whether you're a tourist or you're a doctor or a teacher. You want to be able to describe yourself. You can say these simple phrases. Mimi ni means I am, and mimi si means I am not. So we look at these words. Mwalimu, daktari, Amerikani, Mkenya, Mtanzania, Mtali, Rafiki. So if somebody asks you why you're there, and for me, I was a teacher, I would say, Mimi ni mwalimu. If you're a doctor, you can say, Mimi ni daktari. Or, no, Mimi si mtali, I'm not a tourist. Mimi ni daktari. Or vice versa. Now this word Rafiki, this is a nice phrase you can say for people. Rafiki means friend. Wewe is the word for you. Mimi is the word for me. So if I say, Wewe ni rafiki yangu. Wewe ni rafiki yangu. You are my friend. If I say, Mimi ni rafiki yako. Mimi ni rafiki yako. I am your friend. And so either one you can say. And it's a nice thing to tell somebody. And they'll appreciate it. They'll be impressed with your Swahili. And it's a nice compliment that we are friends, correct? Now, as we move along, it may be important for you to know the words yes and no. As you go down the street, you interact with strangers and all sorts of people. These words will help you communicate yourself. So, Indio is the word for yes. You may also hear the word nam. This is more of a yup when someone calls your name. Like, hey, Joey, Nam, right? I was in the school, and there was an attention grabber the teacher would do. They would say, because the school was in English most of the day, unless it was Swahili class. And so during the English classes, the teacher would say, hello, and the students would say, yes, hello, yes. But one day I sat in on the Swahili class, and the teacher goes, hello, nam, and I thought that was funny, and that's how I learned that word. Hapana means no. So indio, yes, hapana, no. Now let's say that somebody on the street wants to sell you something, and you're not interested. You can say hapana, asante, right? It's no, but thank you. Now, another thing you can say that's a little more colloquial, common that people say, niko sawa. Niko sawa. Sawa means like all right, but it means I'm all right, I'm fine. Now, unfortunately, because you may stand out as a foreigner or a tourist, that might not be good enough to make them go away and leave you alone. And so the important phrase that you need to learn is coming up in 3 slides. Stay tuned. But this phrase, niko sawa, I'm fine, is very good, and it's polite if you say, maybe your friend is offering you food or coffee or tea, and you can say, oh, niko sawa asante. It means I'm fine, but thank you. And that would be a nice thing for your friends when they're offering you food or drink. And speaking of food, because when you travel somewhere, you have to try the food, these are the names of typical foods you will find in Eastern Africa. I will show you pictures on the next slide. So chapati is a flour-based flatbread, similar to for me, it was similar to the Mexican tortilla, but it is different. It's actually an Indian food, but it's been brought over to Eastern Africa. It's very common there as well. Ugali is a cornmeal cooked in boiling water. It's similar to porridge, but it's much thicker. You eat it, you use your hands to eat with it. You ball it up, put vegetables or meat inside, and eat it with your hands. It's one of my favorite foods. And it's the same corn flour that they use to make, if you're familiar with arepas from South America, by the way. Skuma wiki is collard greens or kale. Skuma literally means push, and wiki means week. So it helps you push through the week. That's the idea. It's generally just called skuma, but the long name is skuma wiki. Skuma wiki. Omena is the tiny silver fishes. You'll see all these pictures on the next slide. And when you go through East Africa, you're going to see these on the streets for selling or people eating them. And they're worth a try. Samosa is a fried dough with filling, usually beef or vegetables. Mandazi, I love mandazi. It's a fried sweetbread. Wali is the Swahili word for cooked rice. There is a word for uncooked rice, but I don't know it. Samaki is the word for fish. Nyama is the word for meat. Mayai for eggs. And maji means water, but if you say yakunywa, it means mouth. So maji yakunywa, water of the mouth, it's water for drinking. As you can imagine, in some of these communities, knowing the difference between water that's for drinking and water that's not for drinking is an important distinction to make. Technically, to be correct, you need to say maji yakunywa, because maji is just any water. Okay, are you ready to see some photos? 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! So here you see we have omena, these tiny little silver fishes. Skuma, na ugali. Ugali is on the top. It's the white corn flour. And skuma is the greens. Chapati, as you can see. Mandazi and samosa. Mandazi has nothing inside. Samosa, and it's sweet. Samosa is fried, and it's not usually sweet. It has meat and vegetables inside. Okay, let's talk money, money. Money, money, yeah, yeah. The Swahili word for money is pesa. And a common East African mobile payment system is called M-Pesa, meaning mobile pesa or mobile money. Fun fact, M-Pesa was founded in 2007 and is one of the world's first mobile payment systems. This was years before mobile payment became commonplace in many other places. Now, lipa means pay and hapa means here. So you may see signs that say lipa hapa at a market or a store or whatever. Now, I told you before that if you're being asked to buy something on the street, saying something as simple as, no thank you, I'm good, hapana asante, niko sawa, to a street vendor or any person soliciting from you may not be enough to make them leave you alone. A more powerful phrase, or rather the most powerful phrase, is sina pesa. I don't have money. They may not exactly believe you when you tell them this, but what they are going to understand is that you don't have any money for them, that they're not going to get your money and they're wasting their time. And so if you say this phrase, they're going to leave you alone a lot faster than if you just say, oh, niko sawa. They're going to say, really? Well, maybe you're not fine. Maybe I can sell you. If you say sina pesa, then they get the point. Oh, you're not going to give your money to them. Now, another reason why people on the street may call to you or want to talk to you is because you stand out as an interesting foreigner. Particularly, you will be noticed if you have lighter skin, especially in small towns where seeing foreign people is less common. In Swahili, the word mzungu is used to refer to white people or just foreigners in general. The plural for mzungu is wazungu. Mzungu comes from Bantu language, originally meaning wanderer. If you have lighter skin, you can expect children in the street or in town to call you Mzungu, Mzungu, and they smile and wave at you. They're harmless, they don't mean it in a bad way, they're just excited to see you because they don't see a lot of people who look like you every day. Feel very welcome to smile, wave back, and say, Mambo, Sasa, and get their response. Unlike in many Western countries where pointing out someone's skin color is offensive or rude, here it's just taken as a matter of fact and has no malice whatsoever 99% of the time. It's just something that they recognize you as, and for the most part, they see you as something special and they want to talk to you and meet you. Okay, these next two slides will help you make some small talk and decode advertisements on the street. And with or. So the word for or is ama, and the word for and with is the same word. It's na. We've discussed it before. And so, for example, M-Pesa, you might see lipa na M-Pesa. Pay with M-Pesa. You see that in a lot of places. You can pay with their mobile payment system. You can ask the question, Mimi ama wewe, me or you? Mimi na wewe, me and you. What about this question? Unapenda samaki ama kuku? Do you like fish or chicken? You might hear somebody say, napenda samaki na napenda kuku. I like fish and chicken. Okay, moving along. This is a super useful phrase for somebody learning a language. How do you say blah, blah, blah? Unasemaje. So unasema means you say, right? And aje means how. So they get kind of put together like a conjunction. Unasemaje. It means how do you say? Blah, blah, blah. Unasemaje book. Kitabu. Unasemaje thank you. Asante. And so if you're in the middle of a sentence and you're wondering how to throw in the Swahili word, you can stop and say unasemaje, say the English, you hear it in Swahili, and you can continue. Also, it's a great way to start a conversation with somebody. You can simply start a conversation by saying, hey, unasemaje, blah, blah, blah. Or you forgot something from this video. You can ask somebody again and start a conversation that way. Unasemaje, goodbye. Kwaheri. Okay, in the next section of this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to tell time and how to ask for price. And of course, you can't do that if you don't know the numbers. So let's talk about them. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba, nane, tisa, kumi. And lucky for you, there is a song. We'll get to that next. But let's look at the words for 20. I'll read them to you and on, in case you're wondering. Ishirini is 20. 30. Telatini. 40. Arobani. 50. Hamsini. And then Mia is 100. So you can say any of the numbers after Mia, and that means that many hundreds, right? Mia moja. 100. 101, right? Mia mbili. Mbili is 2. So mia mbili is 200. Just like 1,000, the word for 1,000 is elfu. So elfu mbili is 1,000. If we said elfu sita, that would be 6,000. Okay, and now how do we get from 10 to 20? Well, you simply say kumi for 10, na, which is and or with, and then you would say the digit after that, right? Kumi na moja is 11. If we want to say 23, you would put 20 and then the na and then the 3, right? So, ishirini na tatu. I have a quiz for you. How do you say 12? Remember, you're going to take kumi, you're going to take na. 12 is kumi na mbili. Kumi na mbili. Okay? How do you say 34? Did you say telatini na nne? Good job. Njema sana. Very good, right? Okay. So now here's the song to help you memorize how to count to 10 in Swahili. The song goes like this. Moja mbili tatu nne tano sita saba nane tisa habari ya Januari. Kuna mtu moja aliyepotea na tukimtapa tutampunguza rafiki yangu kuja. I don't know the rest. For me, when I learned to count to 10, I just learned the first part. Moja mbili tatu nne tano sita saba nane tisa. And then it goes on about, we're talking about the translation, but kumi is the word for 10. We don't learn about kumi because kumi got stolen. That's what happened here in the song. Now, if you start singing this song to any kid, or, anybody actually, because they all learned it at one point, they all will know this song and can sing along with you and help you learn the numbers that way. Let's look at the translation. Moja mbili tatu nne tano sita saba nane tisa. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, habari ya. Oh, we've seen this before. Any news about Januari is January. Now, I don't know why they're asking about January, but they're just saying what happened. And we'll tell you what happened. Kuna mtu moja aliyepotea. There's a missing person. Now, natuki mtapa. I swear, tutamfunga jela. We will put him in jail. Because this is the person who stole the number 10. Right? Now, there are more lyrics. I haven't even learned that much. All of it. But the song goes on from there. If you want to learn more, you can ask any kid and they'll sing it to you. Okay. Now that we know our numbers, we can talk about time. The phrase to say, what time is it, is sa ngapi. Ngapi means how many. So this is a useful word because we're going to use it for time and for cost, price, right? So you can say sa ngapi, what time is it? You can also say ni sa ngapi, but the ni is optional. Now, in English time, when we say a time in English, to translate it to Swahili, you have to change it 6 hours. Add 6 hours or subtract 6 hours, either way, around the clock, right? So if it's 1 o'clock in English time, you would actually say sa saba. You would say that it's 7 o'clock. And for example, if it's 11:30 in English time, we would say 5:30 in Swahili time. Sa tano telatini. Now, here's an easy strategy that I use. Is if the time in English is lower than 7 o'clock, then I'm going to add 6 because then I won't go over 12:59. And then it'll be an easy conversion from English to Swahili. But because we're talking about the same time here, it's just how they say it. Now, if the time is 7 o'clock or higher, I subtract 6. So if it's 7 o'clock, for example, I would subtract 6 and get to 1 o'clock. If it's 1 o'clock, I'm going to add 6. Now, if we look at 11:30, if I try to add 6, what am I going to get? 17:30? And then I'm in military time, and then I got to figure that out. For me, it's easier if I'm at a higher number to subtract 6, if I'm at a lower number to add 6, and then translate the numbers themselves, right? So 11:30, okay, that's going to be subtract 6, 5:30. Satano telatini. And telatini means 30. This is a useful number because it's like the half-hour mark, right? Now, you can also add the time of day. Asubuhi, mchana, jioni, usiku, right? So this example below, it's a complicated example, but I just wanted to show that for you. If it's 6:15 in English time, I'm going to add 6 hours and get to 12:15. And now it's in the evening, right? So I'm going to say sa kumi na mbili, so it's 12. Kumi na tano, 15. Jioni, in the evening. Sa kumi na mbili, kumi na tano, jioni. It's 12:15 in the evening, which in English would actually be 6:15. Okay? Now let's talk about price. These are both words that you've learned before. Pesa, which means money, and ngapi, which means how many. Pesa ngapi, how much money, right? Or how many money. Pesa ngapi, and the answer could be, let's say if it's 300, mia, which is 100, tatu, which is 3, mia tatu. In English, they say shillings. The Kenyan shilling, for example, is bob. So 300 bob. Or in Swahili, mia tatu. If someone's going to say 25 shillings, pesa ngapi, shilingi, ishirini na tano. Shilingi is shillings, and then they say the number. Ishirini, 20, na tano, 25. Okay? A little cultural tip on negotiating. The seller won't make a deal unless it's good for them. You definitely need to bargain at least a little bit, because you are definitely getting ripped off just because you are not from there. They know you're a foreigner. They know you'll pay more. And so they're going to charge you a higher price. You have to negotiate. And if you bring a local with you, they'll help you negotiate and get a fair price. Now, there was a time when I had first only been there for a week, and I went to a market and I bought 3 shirts for like the price of 12 American dollars. And I thought I got a great deal. And when I told people this, they said I got absolutely ripped off. I know in my country, these shirts I would have paid $50 or more for these 3 shirts. But there, the clothes are much cheaper. And so I was told again and again how I got ripped off. If I went with you, you would have paid so much less, blah, blah, blah. So definitely you need to negotiate and bring a local with you. That'll help you get the price down. So hopefully if you're going to Eastern Africa, we have the Mara in northern Kenya, right? And in the south, Tanzania, they call it the savannah. And if you're lucky enough to go on safari, here are some of the animals you'd like to know the names of. Simba, lion, Simba. Giraffe is Twiga. Elephant is Tembo. You can see by the picture, there's another word for elephant, Ndovu. But Tembo is the word I heard. Pundamilia is zebra, which literally means donkey striped, so striped donkey. Pundamilia. Mamba is crocodile. Fisi is hyena, and for domestic animals, because you might see those around. Imboa is dog, hopefully not on the safari though. And Paka is cat. Now, in the photo here, we have the big 5. The big 5 were once considered the most difficult animals to hunt, right? So the lion, obviously, Simba. We have leopard, Chui, elephant, Tembo or Ndovu, buffalo, Nyati, and rhino, Kifaru. By the way, you are very likely, if you go on safari, to see lion, elephant, and buffalo. You might see leopard, they're kind of elusive, but the rhino, whew, good luck. If you're lucky, you might see its butt as it runs into a bush. The rhino, it is very hard to see, and if you see it, you barely see it. And I have my own big 5, by the way. This is my big 5. Zebra, giraffe, ostrich, Thompson's gazelle, and mosquito. Because those are the animals I love to see or that you see the most of. What's your big 5? Comment below. Alright, before you even watch this video, you probably already knew this popular Swahili phrase, thanks to the Lion King. Hakuna Matata. You also might have recognized during the video, I said some other words that you've heard from the Lion King. Simba is lion and Rafiki is friend, right? The Lion King is based on the culture here, so they also took some of the language. Hakuna Matata, let's break this phrase down. Kuna means that there is or there are. Hakuna means there is not or there are not. Matata, it means troubles or worries, but in English, we would translate that as problem, right? So Hakuna Matata, no worries, no problem. This is a phrase that you will hear in real conversation. For example, if you can't make a deal with a seller or something is spilled, you might hear the other person say, oh, Hakuna Matata. Especially because they know people like to hear it. But for me, it was a little weird to say that myself because I'm used to it being from a movie. So I learned the Shengi, the slang version, how to say it is Akunangori. This is a little bit cooler way to say the same thing. And if you go around and you say Akunangori, let's just say it's freshy barita. Congratulations, Injema Sana. You have just learned the most essential Swahili for traveling and making new friends. If that was enough for you already, then you are now excused from class. However, if you are interested in learning more, here is what I have in store for you. First, we will talk about a traditional Kenyan Swahili song. Then we will talk about a common compliment that people say and how they say it in English. Third, I will teach you these useful phrases. I don't know, I forgot, and I don't understand. And lastly, for the teachers, I will teach you some school vocabulary and fun things to say in the classroom. All of this coming up next, after a word from our sponsor. Safaricom has been a leading network provider in Kenya and all of Eastern Africa since its inception in 1997. With popular services such as Wi-Fi, phone, and mobile payment through M-Pesa, Safaricom is the brand you can trust. For more information about products and services, nenda kwa www.safaricom.co.ke. And now back to your regularly scheduled program. Hi, welcome back to the show. Okay, seriously, if that joke about Safaricom didn't make you laugh, just wait until you get there and you'll see what I mean. So this is the song that I'm talking about. It's not just a Kenyan song. This is a common folk song. So you'll hear many different variations in the lyrics. This is the Kenyan version I'm going to sing. So the lyrics mention Kenya. If you go to Tanzania, you're probably not going to hear these lyrics. But this is the song and this is how it goes. You can read the translation on the side. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, habari gani, nzuri sana, wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, come on, habari gani, nzuri sana, wageni wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu hakuna matata. Kenya ni nchi nzuri, hakuna matata. Ni nchi ya maajabu, hakuna matata. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, habari gani, nzuri sana, wageni wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu hakuna matata. Kenya ni nchi nzuri, hakuna matata. Ya maajabu, hakuna matata. Okay, I didn't find a good stopping point. But yeah, so you'll see the lyrics are like we learned to say habari yako. Habari gani is another way to say how are you, but I never heard it in real dialogue. It's just in this song. And then inzuri sana and mzuri sana is the same. So, if you notice that, don't freak out. And you see hakuna matata, right? This is a common phrase that people do say in the real world, not just in the movies. Now, if you are really advancing and making conversation with people and they say something, or maybe you're missing something and you don't know, you can say sijui. Sijui, I don't know. If you don't understand what they said or you don't understand something, si elewi, I don't understand. If you used to know something and you forgot, maybe a word in Swahili, oh, nime sahau, I have forgotten. Now, I make this joke in every language, but an easy joke that I used to do is I'd say, hey, I'm learning Swahili. How do you say, or what does sijui mean? And they would say, oh, I don't know. And I would say, you don't know? I thought you speak Swahili. And they would say, I do. And I would say, okay, then what does sijui mean? And they would say, it means, I don't know. And I would say, you don't know what it means? Let me go ask somebody else. And it was a funny way to mess with people. And hopefully, if you like that joke, you can steal it and use it for yourself. Now, this is the compliment. I love this one because they say it in English, and it just reminded me of this meme that I would see of Bart Simpson. At least you tried. They'll say to you, you've tried. And if you maybe I'll say something in Swahili and they'll say, oh, you've tried. When I first heard that, I thought, I tried? Well, what does that mean? Did I fail? It means that you put a good effort in and they're proud of you for your effort. And that's all it means. So it's a compliment 100%. But it always sounded, when I first heard it, it sounded sarcastic, right? So in Swahili, this is how it's said. Because it's past tense. You have tried. Ume jaribu sana. Ume jaribu sana. Ume jaribu sana. You have tried. If I have tried, nime jaribu sana. Nime jaribu sana. And you can say that too. Maybe you did a good effort. You say, nime jaribu sana. I've tried. And you say, yes, good job. You've tried. Ume jaribu sana. Okay. Last thing of all. For the teachers, if you stuck around and you're a teacher and you're going to hopefully work at a school or serve somewhere in East Africa, the German word for school, Schule, is adopted by Swahili. So Schule means school. Now to say teacher for singular, mwalimu. Mimi ni mwalimu. I am a teacher, right? The plural, you take off the M. Walimu. Okay? Student, mwanafunzi. For plural, wanafunzi. I remember I was at a community event and these kids in the back kept talking. It was like performances. And these kids in the back kept talking and the person on the microphone was like, hey, wanafunzi. And I thought wanafunzi was like, be quiet or shut up. So I walked around for like a full day saying, wanafunzi. It turns out I was just calling everybody a student, but it was fine. Actually, it was probably nicer than what I was trying to say. So that's the words for that. Now, I love this. If you enter into a class, kids can be doing anything. And if you say hamjambo, they're supposed to stand up. Now, some of them still do this. Some of them need to be reminded. And you can say, si mama, stand up. But the traditional routine is the teacher walks in and says hamjambo. The students will stand up. And they say a lot of things. I don't understand them. But at the end, they stop. And they've asked you, how are you? And you can reply, injema, inzuri. Now, if you hear shikamu, this is why I brought this up before, then it's marahaba, right? That's the very formal phrase that I've only heard one time ever in the classroom. But if they don't say shikamu, they just say whatever, then you just say injema or inzuri. And then they'll continue, they'll say one more thing after that. And then they'll say like asante mwalimu, thank you teacher, I believe. And then you can just say, okay, keti, sit down. They're waiting for you to tell them that. So, keti, sit down. And si mama is stand up. I thought it was funny. I pointed out that si in Spanish is yes. So I told the kids, si mama means yes, mom in Spanish or Italian too. It was kind of funny. Now I made up this song. Keti kiti yako. It means sit in your chair. Technically, grammatically, it's chaco. But I walked around saying yako, and none of the kids ever corrected me. So we had this song, keti kiti yako, keti kiti yako, keti kiti yako, keti kiti keti kiti keti kiti yako. And it was a fun way to tell kids to sit down, right? They liked it. So you can definitely use that if you feel so inclined. Or chaco, if you want to say it grammatically correct. And with that concludes the video. Asante sana wanafunzi, students, because today you were my students. And I want to say to you, uni kona swali? Do you have a question? If you have a question, leave it in the comment section below, or any comment, anything you'd like to say. Hopefully, at least one person has made it to this point in the video and learned some of this. That's my greatest hope. So with that, I'm just going to sign off and Kwaheri!